You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio, man. We are here once again, and today we have another amazing show lined up for y'all. We're going to have a special guest, Peter Lynch. He is a speaker, coach, and a proud dad. But he is on a mission, man, to empower entrepreneurs, not just to be great, but to break through the inner barriers and sell with confidence. And today's topic, man, we're going to explore becoming unshakable. And without further ado, man, I just want to welcome you, Peter Lynch, to the show, man. How you doing?
Hey, man, doing great. Excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
And you're very welcome, man. It's exciting to talk about business because we are living in times where it's very unpredictable, and everyone's watching the news closely and watching all these different resources closely because we are living in some unique times. But you tell us a little bit about yourself before we dive into the topic of becoming unshakable.
Yeah, the short story is I had a lot of hidden trauma throughout my childhood that led me to really being just suicidal and depressed as a teenager, and just coming to the brink over and over with the question of why bother, why be here, what's the point? In my early 20s, I moved. Right when I turned 20, I moved to Alaska. I was very much in denial about just how depressed I was and how actually suicidal I was. And got a job up there, do a night shift job. So and I moved there in October. So brilliant timing. If you want to move to Alaska, don't move in October. It's the right time for the snow and the dark. And that's what I ran into. But the gift of that experience was it brought me face to face with just what a dark place I was in. Right, I was my external circumstances reflected my own soul to me. And I'd go out. I lived close to just some open property, so just everything in Alaska. If it's not developed, it's wilderness. So 50 acres was just the woods. So I'd go out there alone at night and just grapple with these questions and come face to face. There was something, something there that I committed to. Just looking up into the sky, looking up into the stars, and just reaching out for God and wondering why am I here? Why bother? Because I can't see it, but I committed to finding my purpose and finding meaning in my life. And that's led me on all the more of a journey. I wish you could say it was some kind of a magic pill overnight transformation. Doesn't exist. I don't believe in that. Right. It's been a journey that's brought me here. That's been a journey of business, transformations, turnarounds, my own personal journey over, having to go back into revisit where the wounding came from, why I was struggling with anxiety, panic attacks, depression, all these kind of things. And have to develop myself, rediscover myself. And in the process, learned what I share with others now. So it's equipped me to do this work. So I'm incredibly grateful.
And you have been able to work with some of the biggest brands in the world. And now you're using your gifts and talents to empower us amazing, encouraging, hopeful entrepreneurs, because it's not easy. And I want you to touch on that because those who don't understand what it means to be a true entrepreneur, not just what you see on the social media, graphic posts and all that, but what does it really mean to be an entrepreneur?
I put it like this. When you're an entrepreneur, you're betting on yourself. And there's nothing more risky, right? Or challenging. Not really risk, but I think there's no greater bet you can take. But we've been conditioned in our culture to believe that it's safer to bet on a corporation. It's safer to bet your future on a 9-to-5 job. It's safer to bet your future on the stock market. I say the most powerful bet you can make. It's not the safest. There is no safety. There is no guarantee. But the entrepreneur takes her destiny into their own hands and follows their dream with courage and bravery. And if we look at the meaning of the word entrepreneur, it means he who carries the weight. So you're carrying the weight. You're carrying the weight of bringing your dream, your vision into it to materialize it, to bring it into fulfillment, right? Which is the process of our own fulfillment, right? We seek fulfillment in life, and that's found in the fulfillment of the pursuit of this dream, of this vision that you carry within yourself, because there's no other reason we would take up this difficult journey of entrepreneurship if there wasn't something that burned so deeply within your heart, a deep passion and a desire to make a difference in the world, right? And so yeah, I love entrepreneurs. I love entrepreneurship because of that, because entrepreneurs are the ones who change the world.
And now that our audience have an official definition from someone who is very credible to give that definition, let's unpack this topic, becoming unshakable, because that is a awesome, inspiring topic just to think about itself. But it just screams to me that to be unshakable, there has to be some confidence there. There has to be some ingredients inside that space. So do some justice for that and kind of unpack that topic for us.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So the word unshakable, why I use that is because, yes, as you said, it speaks to confidence almost immediately, right? And unshakable also that references the idea of being built on the rock, right? You're built on that solid foundation. If you're on that solid foundation, you're unshakable, right? But if we're looking at, just to, speak geologically here, right? You're looking for bedrock. You're looking for something deep, something solid. And that's, again, why the word is applicable to my work and my business, is because whether I'm working on somebody's business or I'm working on the entrepreneur themselves, with the entrepreneur themselves, and I say working on, it's really the entrepreneur who does the work. It's my honor as a coach to facilitate that work. And I do want to make that clear, because I can't take credit for the breakthroughs that my clients have. That's their breakthrough. And for me, it's an honor and a privilege to be able to be part of that journey. But so when we're doing that work, when we're engaging that work, it's, for me, I'm always driven by how do we get deeper? Because if we just do something on the surface, it's not it doesn't lead to lasting change. So we're looking for that deep work, right? But the other layer of it, when we speak of confidence, the word confidence also is rooted in confide, a Latin word that means understanding. So I love looking at confidence because confidence baffled me, through my own journey. Confidence was the thing I felt like I had none for most of my life. I felt very insecure. I struggled with deep, anxiety, insecurity, imposter syndrome, right? Even after many successes, even after doing some remarkable things for the businesses, the jobs I was part of, leadership positions, I still woke up every day feeling like I'm not good enough. I'm a failure. I'm an imposter. Nobody will take me serious. I don't bring value, etc. I didn't have confidence. But what really was lacking, and I was just struggling with that, because I felt like, well, how do you gain confidence? Something so intangible. And so part of my hope here is that we can make that more tangible for everybody, with the idea that confidence is simply self-knowledge. Because confide means to understand, to know. So when you're confident in something, it means you know it, right? My daughter, we're living this kind of digital nomad life, so traveling around. We've been in Florida. And so my daughter just started swimming basically a month ago. She's 5. And when we started, she was nervous, uncertain. We had a floaty and all this stuff. And now just a month later, she's now swimming confidently in the deep end. She's actually diving all the way to the bottom of like this 8-foot pool and touching the bottom and then swimming back up all by herself. Of course, we're keeping a good, close eye on her, but she's so much more confident. And the confidence has matched her competence, and the competence comes with understanding. So there's a loop to it, and it's always a feed. It's a loop of improvement, of optimization, of growth. But there's this basis of understanding. So back to ourselves, when we're struggling with our own self-confidence, it's really a struggle of I don't know myself. Because when you know yourself, you have confidence. When you know yourself, you know what your limits are. You know yourself, you know what your strengths are, right? But there's also that layer of the healing aspect to really move beyond the inner limitations, the self-sabotage, the imposter syndrome. It really also is the process of healing yourself, healing those points inside that are trigger points, that are pain points, that are keeping us stuck, right? And when you can do that, you're building immense confidence, because you're also restoring yourself. So we also have this word integrity, integration, right, as a synonym. Integrity, we talk about integrity kind of being the state, something you do when nobody's looking. I like to look at integrity more as being whole. It's wholeness. So part of the work of Unshakable is to bring the entrepreneur, the high achiever back into a state of wholeness. So you're working with yourself, not against yourself. And when that happens, that is being unshakable, right?
Man, I love that. And by the way, listen, I'm Focus Real talking to Peter Lynch. And what you just said, I like the key part of you saying understanding. And it makes me think of Socrates, know thyself. And wisdom is knowing what you don't know. And how many times do we fail to not admit we don't know something because we are scared to be embarrassed? you know, touch on that a little bit.
Oh man. Yeah, no, spot on. I mean, and I think that's part of the disservice that's been done to the word or the concept of confidence is this idea that you show up and you act like you have it all together. But if you're putting on an act, you're just that just is a sign of a lack of confidence. Because if you're trying to be something, it means you're not being yourself, right? And if you're not being yourself, you're not confident. It's quite simple. So a confident person is just being themselves. They're not worried about what they do know or what they don't know or anybody else in the room, right? I think if you're ever in comparison, that's always a real immediate litmus test. If you're comparing yourself to somebody else, then your confidence is very shakable, right? And that's, again, what it's not unshakable, because if it's unshakable, you're not comparing to somebody else. If you're comparing yourself to somebody else, you have very shakable confidence, because it means it's very easy for you to get, right, to just be worried, because there's always going to be somebody faster, stronger, richer, more successful, whatever it is. So it's the only competition that matters is against yourself. And that competition is not something to beat yourself down. It's really to uplift yourself. So healthy competition, of course, being the key here. But yeah, that coming back to your point there, which is absolutely spot on. It's like, you got to be able to admit that you don't know, right? Because that's the only way that you grow. So that's the other thing, is when we refuse to acknowledge our weakness, what we're actually refusing to do is refusing to grow, right? Refusal to acknowledge and admit ignorance or weakness is actually just refusal to grow.
Man, I didn't know this podcast would be this heavy, man, but I like it because it's so clear. And that's what's so powerful when we have people on the show to talk about their personal journey. I mean, you talked about some of your dark times early, right? And then the transformation process of that stage of your life to where you are today. I mean, touch on that too, because that's a personal, relatable way for the audience to digest as well. How did you manage yourself through the years as you transfer from that state of mind to where you are today?
True. Yeah, day by day process of always, first of all, holding in mind what's the goal. And I think sometimes we get away from just how simple the fundamentals are. Simple. It's the application that becomes complex, right? Because at the core, the process is really simple. It's like, first of all, you got to be anchored in who, like, what do you want to be? Who do you want to be, right? Carl Jung has this profound quote that the future self reflects upon the present self. And there's something so that sunk in for me deeply as this was shortly after I'd started my first business, launched out on my own, which was shortly after my daughter was born, who's my first child. We've got two kids now. She's now 5, going on 6, and my son is 2. But she was just born. She was a couple months old, and I made this decision to launch out on my own. And there's so much to that. I just realized so quickly how much I didn't know. So to speak to that, like, I had to really confront. I knew nothing about sales. I knew nothing about marketing. I knew how to do the work that I started my business on. But I did not know anything. So I was just my first business was just it was construction based work. So I also felt like I felt insecure about that. I felt like, man, my skill set is just kind of this technical work. But that's where I ended up getting some contracts with some big name brands, where I was traveling the country doing warranty inspection and repairs and things like that. So So there's this beauty of that journey where sometimes there was just grace, and that's part of it too. It's just being willing to engage with the journey and see how it unfolds for you. And not to get so arrogant as to think that somehow everything is our doing. Because I can't look back at my journey and say it's all my doing. What I can say is that I showed up and I committed to doing the work, to staying true and staying focused. So, and so back to that quote by Carl Jung, because this was, one of these days I'm taking a walk with my wife and we're pushing the stroller with my daughter. And I just heard this quote by Carl Jung: the future self reflects upon the present self. It was just opening a new dimension of my thinking as I was realizing that it's like in the present moment, I have this opportunity to set a new anchor point of my identity. Because at that time, my identity was still one of lack, of insecurity, of insignificance, right? I was struggling deeply to just break the generational bondage of poverty and of scarcity that was carried through my family, and that's a whole nother topic to get into. But I mean, I do love the opportunity that comes with that, is you're actually able to change that narrative for me. It's like, well, I get to change that narrative for my daughter. So I had very clear motivation, right? I was not going to pass on my tradition as a trauma to my daughter. So I'm here trying to change that. And there's this realization that happens that in the present moment, I have this opportunity to set a new anchor point, a new future identity, right? So I was able to alter the entire trajectory of my life with a simple decision in the now. But it takes courage to make that decision, because when you can commit to that new trajectory, that new future self, so we're altering the future self. That's the power of it. So in the present, the future is now, right? This is where time bends on itself. Einstein speaks to this idea, right? It's a metaphysical idea, but it's very powerful because time bends around the present moment. We can heal the past and you can alter the future only now, because the past is no more, the future is yet to come. So you get to decide what your future will be. And if you continue, but you also, to do that, you have to address the past, because otherwise the unconscious cycle of the past will continue to drive you into the same repetitive monotony into the future, right? The same limitations, the same ceiling on your own success, your capability, your capacity, everything. So for me, it was this transformation that began with it continued, because there were many points where transformation kind of began and then continued. So it's such a dynamic process, but this was a powerful one of realizing in the now, I can change my decision, my identity of my future identity. And then that future identity reflects back upon me, which what it does is it alters the course of my life. And then what happened was, with changing my future identity, what I came up against was all the subconscious limitations that said, no, you can't do that. And I went through this extreme battle with self-sabotage, to the point where sometimes I would actually have physical reactions. I was physically sick some days, trying to get out of bed to go achieve the goals I was setting for myself, to make more money than I'd ever made in my life, to accomplish bigger things, to grow my business, and ultimately to just develop that confidence to stand on my own 2 feet in the world. Right. And to share my gift, to share the talents that I knew I could infuse into, with the services I was doing at the time. And then how that started to, as I went through this process, I started to see the way that my services applied in a whole new way, in a whole new perspective, at a whole new level, that led to the work that I'm doing now, of course, with some of the other developments. But all that to say, then the battle with self-sabotage was intense. But even there, another thing I want to share was, the more that I fought against myself, the more intense it was. And what really brought me to also a powerful realization was, I needed to stop fighting myself and start healing, right? Which meant that I actually had to get down in there and resolve where the fight was coming from, instead of just trying to override it. Because there were days and days where I was just trying to override myself. And that led to burnout, like I said, getting physically sick, not being able to get out of bed, being wiped out for a couple of days at a time. And then that started to happen on a regular basis, where I would just be able to go for a month and kind of push through my goals and achieve some things, but then everything would just fall back apart and I would lose all my progress. And it was just over and over this battle where I felt like for every step forward, I fight for tooth and nail, I would get 2 steps backwards, and again, the stakes were high. I had a family to support. My daughter I knew that I had to change, and I felt like I was struggling. So, but what changed that for me too was that ability to say, okay, I'm not going to fight this anymore. I'm going to resolve it. And it's a different thing. Both take stamina and courage, but it really comes down to what result do you actually want? Do you want to fight for the rest of your life, or do you want to actually achieve your purpose and your purpose, your fulfillment in this life, and share your gift with the rest of the world?
Once again, listen to I Am Refocused Radio, talking to Peter Lynch, and topic is becoming unshakable. And man, if you listen to this right now, man, you might want to listen to this like every day, because there's a lot of gems in this podcast episode. And there's some things I want to point to, because there's a quote that I want to share. But before I do that, there were 2 quotes I had to write down when you were talking. First one you said is engage with the journey and see how it unfolds. That's pretty awesome, because it's like watching a movie, just seeing that statement. And then the second one is time bends on the present moment. That is awesome, man. I mean, I had goosebumps, because if you think about it, that's so true. Because it's like at this very moment,
yes,
I either help the new guy, or
gosh,
I continue to help the old guy.
This is the defining moment of your life.
And touch on that, because you will do that more justice. Touch on that real quick. Yeah,
just it's the defining moment of your life. Every moment is a defining moment of your life. And I think sometimes we're kind of waiting for something, but the moment is now. Eternity is in the now. Our life is in the now. There's nothing, it's once again, we put time into a linear path because that's the way that our brain can process it. But the actual experience, because everything is energy, right? So our whole world is built of energy. So our energy is experiencing, our mind is experiencing time, but our being is one of energy. And so we're experiencing something beyond time. I mean, that's even like the neutrons of a star. I think it's neutrons. I might be wrong on the actual correct thing, but they respond to our eye looking to the star, even if the star is dead. So it's an instant response that transcends time. So the star, with the light we're seeing from a star, that star could have died, a couple light years ago, which is a super long time ago, right? But the thing that's going on is the very act of us looking to that light is what causes the light to come into our eyes. So the light that would not be there otherwise. So I'm just bringing this up because there's so much mystery to the world, and there's so much mystery to the universe, and there's so much mystery to ourselves, because each one of us is a universe within ourselves. All, just look at how, an atom is a reflection of a galaxy, of a solar system. It's amazing. It's fractals, right? So what I'm getting at is this power of, we put things into boxes. We think, because that's the way that it gives our mind some kind of safety mechanism that, okay, I understand this. But the reality is we don't understand. We don't know what we don't know. But what I'm getting at is that in the moment, things are happening that can alter the course of everything in this here and now. So it's the power. There's so much power in being present to where you are now, what you're feeling now, what your soul is speaking to you. What is that dream? As I say too, if you don't pursue your dream, the ghost of your dream will haunt you. And a lot of times the self-sabotage that we're experiencing, again, it's not actually sabotage, because what's really going on is your own unconscious being is crying out saying, this is what we're meant to do, but this is the blockage that's in the way. How do we do it? Because the subconscious speaks in emotion, not in words, not in logic. So our conscious mind then it has to interpret with logic what is emotional, right? So all that I can go on all day about these kind of things. So I'll end myself there, but it's just that power of being present in the moment, because the present moment is everything. The present moment is the determining moment of the rest of your life.
Once again, talking to Peter Lynch, speaker, coach, and proud dad, on the mission to empower entrepreneurs, not just to be great entrepreneurs, but break through the inner barriers and sell with confidence. And sell with confidence, I want to tie that with today's topic. And I know we're wrapping up, but the topic of becoming unshakable. There's a quote that came to mind. It's a Chinese proverb. And it says, you give a poor man a fish and you feed him for a day.
Yeah.
You teach him to fish and you give him an occupation that will feed him for a lifetime.
Yes.
I want to flip that in today's topic, becoming unshakable. I would say we all have our flaws to where we've been shaken for a while.
Yes.
And I would say, based on what I hear from you and everything you said today, is because we're not sure of ourselves. We're not sure of our purpose. We're not sure of what we are meant to do or what we should be doing to, have more pleasure in life and happiness in life, because that comes with some kind of defining moment, like you said, being present. And I think the more we're present, the more we leave our fingerprint. And the more we leave our fingerprint, the more people are able to understand where we come from. Imagine if you did tell your story of your dark times. This interview would have been just another interview. But you expressing those flaws actually is like Michelangelo and his quotes, carving the marble until I set the angel free. It's like all those mishaps, all those struggles, all those trips and whatnot, it actually is part of your masterpiece.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's almost a misnomer that we use this term personal development, because I think it's really just self-discovery. Because you already have everything that you need, right? Your purpose, your gift, everything is already there within you. You are fully equipped. It's a matter of discovering, of setting it free, as Michelangelo releasing the angel, right? And so we have to go through this, engage with the process of pain, which unlocks our power. The pain of being present, because it's easier to check out. It's easier to tune out and to go do something else to distract us. But when we engage, when we're present with the pain, that's what unlocks our power and allows us to make that greater impact, to leave a bigger fingerprint and inspire the lives of others.
Man, I'm going to listen to this for the next 30 days. I want to challenge anybody who listens to this episode, share it with as many people as possible, and just keep listening to this, because I feel if you repeat things that are teachable, that's more beneficial than repeating the things that weigh you down. And what I'm trying to say is, we can repeat the negative thoughts in our head, well, so-and-so said I can't do it, or, I lost so-and-so friends and blah, 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 so maybe they're right. Well, you're repeating that cycle. But if you repeat something like the Chinese proverb to learn how to fish, or what you're saying throughout the show, learning how to be unshakable, that is awesome, because now that is a process it's like exercise. You can't help but get healthier. Versus if you are passive and you are becoming isolated from everything, now your isolation is actually destroying your dreams. Yeah, I know we can probably talk for another 30 minutes, but I want to respect your time, and I want to, as we wrap this up, someone listening right now, they want to connect with you and find out about your services and find out about your resources. What's the best way they can do that?
Yes, unshakable.pro is
that's easy.
As long as I've got it working, let's put it like that. So I've been known to break tech, especially my own. I don't break my client's tech because I don't mess with it, but I break my own tech. So if unshakable.pro gives you an error message, go to sleek.bio/unshakable, or just find me on social media, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok. It's all under PL himself. So that's my initials, PL himself.
Once again, true honor having Peter Lynch on the show, speaker, coach, and proud dad on a mission to inspire all y'all entrepreneurs worldwide, whoever is listening to this. Make sure you share it with someone, and make sure you keep listening to content like this that will empower you, inspire you, because that's all we're trying to do on Refocus Radio. Once again, I want to say thank you, Peter Lynch, for taking time in your schedule and talking to us today, man.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
I Am Refocus Radio is brought to you by Foo 4-Star and Holy Crab. Foo 4-Star is a family-owned Asian restaurant in San Antonio, Texas. We have been a local favorite for Asian cuisine for over 10 years. With nothing but full smiles and fast service, you'll be leaving satisfied. Come on in for some authentic Vietnamese food. Holy Crab is one-of-a-kind Cajun Creole-style seafood restaurant located in Universal City, Texas. We offer traditional seafood items as well as chicken and steak. We also offer seafood boils. Come give us a try. You won't be disappointed. You can find these two eateries in Universal City, Texas at 2921 Pat Booker Road.